Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. This is Donna with the Doc Bookshop, and we have a special live this evening because we have a special person in the house.
Bless you.
We have Mr. Randall Shaheed here. He's going to share his story. So I'm going to give you a minute to just kind of gather. And while you're doing that, I'm going to check to make sure all my channels are working because believe it or not, I've been known to do a whole live and had no vocals. So, so I take a moment to check my stations. So while I'm doing that, please share this live. Please gather in. We have exciting, intriguing story, and we're going to delve into the history of Fort Worth and just allow Mr. Shaheed to have voice. One of the things about the Doc Bookshop and just really bookstores in general is, uh, bookstores are community oases, and we're here to provide voices for the community, as well as, and he's not only are you, he's just sharing his story, but he's also a published author. So we're going to talk a little bit about his books, but we want to lift up voices in the community, especially those who have quite a story, and we're going to hear his story in just a minute. Let me make sure. Okay, Facebook is good. So, oops, I'm sorry. That's how I know it's working. Okay, and then I'm gonna check our YouTube. Make sure it's on point as well. And so wait a minute. Okay, great. We are working. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. We got some folks chiming in with us on Facebook. That's wonderful. Um, so yeah, please share, please share. Um, so let's go ahead though and get started with our conversation. And I'm gonna ask you to scoot just a little bit. I want you to make sure they can see you. I don't have the camera on us, so we gotta we're gonna make sure they can see you. And so Mr. Shaheed, just tell us a little bit about you, your beginnings, the makings of you. What tell us about, when you was born and your parents and just your beginnings.
Well, again, my name is Randolph Shaheed.
Mm-hmm.
I was born Randolph Brown, and I
Okay.
changed my name
Okay.
so that it would be black instead
Okay.
of somebody else's name.
Okay.
Okay. So I was born in 1950 here in Fort Worth, Texas. I attended Dunbar from the first grade to the 12th grade. Uh, and I was born in the city of Stop Six, Texas.
Okay.
Were you familiar with Stop Six,
I'm
Texas?
familiar with Stop Six, and for those who don't know Stop Six is in Fort Worth. It's just a neighborhood of Fort Worth. And there's a history behind why it's called Stop Six.
Yeah.
It was the last stop I hear on
the bus.
On the bus.
Right. So. It was that last stop.
Mm-hmm.
So they called it Stop Six. But went to Dunbar, had beautiful parents. My mother and my dad, they raised us. It was 5 of us kids. Okay?
Okay.
And it was 5 of us kids.
How many boys, how many girls?
3 boys and 3 girls. So
that's 6.
That's 6, yeah, but the 6th one came later.
Oh, okay.
She came later, okay? Mm-hmm. And
kind of like me.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. I was a surprise.
Okay.
Yeah, so I understand.
Okay.
Mother thought she was done, but not quite.
Come on. Okay. And we were advocates for the church. You know, my mother, Church.
What church you went to?
Church of Christ, but the church that I growed up in was Mayfield Missionary Baptist Church in Stop Six.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that still there?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it's still there on Amanda Street. And the the surroundings that time in the neighborhood, oh, it was fabulous. So much camaraderie back then.
Oh,
Every
wow.
family assisted in raising other families.
I love when I hear our elders or older people talk about that.
It was beautiful. It was
Yeah.
beautiful. Everybody knew
Everybody knew each other.
everybody, and I loved uh, the way we had little stores, little cleaners, barbershops, of course, but everything was just like a family. We all we all stood together. We all stood together, and everybody attended the same school. Everybody in the neighborhood was like family, and it was fun.
Okay.
It was fun because uh, it was no black power back then. You know, the only power that was black was just us in our being raised, you know, to that black folks had to act a certain way when I was growing up. I never did pay attention to that. My mother would hate for me to go with her to to the stores when we go downtown. She didn't. She hated me going because she knew where that water fountain said whites only. That's the one I'm gonna drink out of. The whites
Did you
only.
do that?
I did that everywhere I went. I never did obey those kind of rules. You know, if you can drink water and drink it out of this fountain, I can drink water out of that fountain too.
So you remember that?
Oh yeah, yeah. It was something to remember because it was something that you had to remember because of the way it was back in the 50s and 60s. And and knowing that there were rules and regulations, uh, I didn't agree with the rules and the regulations uh, during that time because it seemed like it was telling me that I was less. I was less than everybody else. And all of that segregational stuff, you know, where you couldn't go in certain places, where when white people would pass by you in the streets, you just look straight ahead, maybe nod, but be very humble because these are white folks coming to you.
Mm.
We always set it up where white people had to receive the best of who we were, meaning we had to be good by knowing how far to go in everything in this society. Fort Worth, Texas, I remember a newspaper article growing up where the newspapers were saying, we don't have any problems with our Negroes. They called us Negroes.
Wow.
So
And that was not so long ago,
that
huh?
wasn't so long ago, you know. And at the same time, uh, it wasn't anything that would. Uh, we've never had a riot here in Fort Worth, Texas, to my knowledge. I'm 75. I don't
Really?
remember us having a riot in.
So what happened when Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. died?
Well, he died uh, after the incident that I'm going to be discussing with you, and uh,
but I mean,
during that time,
you remember? So what were you doing when you heard about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. passing? Where were you? What were you doing?
Well, he died in '68, and in '68, being honest, I was a revolutionary, a self-made revolutionary, and things that were happening to black people, I didn't like it. I tried to smile it off, uh, but at the same time, I knew that the way we were looked at as black people, I knew we was greater than that. You know, I knew that during that time, Martin Luther King, he's marching and stuff. We here in Fort Worth didn't seem like that we really kept up with Martin Luther King during that time.
Okay. So when he passed, did you hear about it on news?
Yeah.
You was at home or something,
Yeah.
and it was just a sad moment, but no big deal.
Right. Right.
Interesting.
Because we in Stop Six, I can't remember having black discussions concerning our welfare as being black. There was no gathering together concerning what we were going to do. I didn't hear anything about that stuff. And
so during that time, basically it was just you was just surrounded really though with this black love.
Yeah.
You know, not so much.
Yeah. Not so much.
The revolutionary stuff.
Yeah,
you were just surrounded with black love.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's what Stop Six is. It's a black community.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it was.
And they were probably trying to protect the children from all that, maybe.
Maybe.
You know,
but we didn't have a discussion like that at home. You know,
that's what I'm saying. Maybe your parents was trying to, like I said, you know, maybe they were just trying to protect their children from the craziness of the outside. Right?
Yeah, and it seemed like my dad drove trucks. He was a hard worker, and my mom.
But they was hard workers back then.
Oh yeah. My mom.
You could tell because even the men were built differently.
For real.
They seemed a little bit more muscular back then. But they had, but it was a lot of manual labor type stuff, though. That's probably, you know, versus nowadays, a lot of men are working on computers and stuff. So,
you know, I was a A and B student, and I could have been better. I was one of them kind of students where I was kind of smart, and I always passed my courses, you know, and I was the class clown. I wanted to see smiles on people's faces, so I would do things like ride my motorcycle into Dunbar, go up the stairs, had my sister on the back of the motorcycle. I drove into the high school, went upstairs on my motorcycle with my baby sister on the back. I'm going to drop her off in her room.
Yeah, you was too much. You was too much.
Yeah.
So I'm, you know, Mr. Shaheed is an author. The books didn't come in time for this conversation, but I want you to make note of this book and do come to the Doc Bookshop and order it, or just email us, text us, call us, whatever you want to do to let us know that you want a copy of his book. I'm pulling it up right now, and my computer would act right. It's called Do Black Lives Still Matter? In Memory of Skinny. And so I want you all to, like I said, just remember that title and just text us, email us, put in the chat, let us know that you want a copy of Mr. Shaheed's book. He is from Fort Worth, a local author. And I'm just going to read a synopsis about his book, and then we're going to talk a little bit more. But it says, what happens when a young teenager growing up in a segregated section of Fort Worth, Texas, called Stop Six, has his life dramatically changed overnight. Mm-hmm. In the flash of one defining moment, the trajectory of his life was changed forever. Mm-hmm. He watched as his beloved community, friends, classmates, and some of his closest comrades turned their backs on him after the tragic murder of his best friend, Skinny. One late evening, Skinny was tragically murdered at the hands of a racist city bus driver. Randall's world unraveled and fell apart quickly when he was blamed for Skinny's murder. He learned an invaluable lesson throughout the ordeal for today's and future generations of African Americans. Black lives don't matter. You know, and this, it's interesting you wrote this after our movement of Black Lives Do Matter, but we're going to keep going. This harsh reality became even more apparent while mourning the death of his best friend while watching with the entire nation the news of Skinny's murder on the national televised stations.
Mhm.
The jury eventually acquitted the city bus driver of justifiable homicide.
Mhm.
This was a major turning point in his life that led him down the road of petty street criminal to organized gang leader.
Mhm.
Okay, let's talk more about that. Okay, so what happened?
Well, when you look at the title of this book, it brings to my mind to ask the question, when has Black lives ever mattered?
To who? I guess that's the question.
That is the question.
Okay.
When has Black lives ever mattered? Especially here in the United States.
Well, to answer that question, I would say that our lives always matter.
Of course.
In perspective to, of course, our families,
Of course.
the Most High.
Of course.
So, but in terms of, I guess you're talking about in terms of government.
Yeah, I'm
our,
talking about our nation. We're
our
a nation
nation.
of people. We're black. We're a black nation of people, and we have to stop overlooking that.
Who's a black nation of people? United States? Are you talking about our community or?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
Black people.
Okay.
Black people as a whole is a nation of people within a nation. You know,
Okay.
and this nation within a nation, we observe that other nationalities in this nation, I can't think of any other race of people that hasn't been awarded something, whether it was from the Japanese being placed in those.
Now, I have to agree with you on that one. That has been a total disrespect. I have to agree on that.
It is.
And we continue though to fight for reparations. That fight is still going on.
Yes,
So I hear what you're saying on that one.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, on that particular night, that changed my life instantly. Like that.
How old were you?
I was 17,
17.
and my friend was 16 years old, Roger.
So y'all was just young teenage boys.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I admired and loved Skinny. I was wanting to be like Skinny because he could swing out real smooth. Everybody knew that when he got on the dance floor, oh Lord have mercy. He was so smooth, it was like he was on glass, the way he would spin, and I wanted to be just like that, and I got pretty good, you know, just copying him.
Okay.
But one day in November, during that time, we were being bused. Integration had just started. It had just started in Fort Worth. And people was moving to the white side of town that became the black side of town because all the white people moved out of Southeast Fort Worth, which we call Eastwood. They had moved out. And we were moving in, and this was a time in which everybody in the city didn't have bathrooms and all that stuff. You had to go outside and use the bathroom.
Yeah, outhouses. Oh, okay.
Yeah, we had outhouses, and I hated them. But my dad.
Yeah, I'm not quite a fan of those either.
But this particular day, you would have to catch the bus, the city bus, and then go downtown, and then get on another bus.
So where were you being bused to?
To where we lived in Eastwood. We would leave Dunbar, get on the bus, and take it downtown, and we would get in on the Southeast Fort Worth bus, the Eastwood bus.
Okay.
So people was going everywhere, different places, different parts of the city.
So Dunbar was being integrated, or was Dunbar always a black school?
Always a black school.
Okay. So you basically was bused to Dunbar and then sent back home. right?
No,
No.
I lived in Stop 6. Dunbar is in Stop 6.
Okay, so I'm just trying to figure
But
out.
we moved from Stop 6 to the Eastwood area.
Oh, you moved.
Yeah.
Okay. Now
Yeah.
making sense. So,
Yeah.
okay, so you had to catch the bus to go to school. Okay, go ahead.
And this particular day, we were all having fun, like kids do. And back there on the bus, singing songs, like the letter during that time. Have you ever heard of the letter?
The letter.
Take you for an aeroplane. Ain't got time to take a fast plane.
Who is that?
No, the letter.
But who's the by?
The
I'm gonna look it up because
Please do.
I don't remember the letter.
Yeah.
Does anyone remember the letter? I don't know.
Ain't got time for a fast train. They wanted to hurry him get home. He wanted to get home to his girlfriend. The
Ain't
letter.
got time for a fast train. In this day and age, there's no reason not to know.
Yeah, for real.
This was by the Box Tops. Did you know that? Have you heard of the Box Tops?
Yeah, I've heard of the Box Top.
Okay, well that look like who
and the name of that song is The Letter.
Yeah, not Box Top 1967.
See, that's right. That's what we were singing.
It was a white group.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I know. But that was a smooth song. I liked it.
Okay.
And baby, wrote me a letter.
Okay.
I gotta speak. Get back, baby, again.
All right, y'all. So y'all check out the Box Tops, The Letter. That's the song they was jamming to.
Yeah,
okay.
we're at the back of the bus, and that's how we traveled then. Black people on the back of the bus. And all the kids is in the back. The white people is at the front of the bus.
So why you didn't have a school bus? I'm just curious.
I don't know. I didn't work at the school.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know why we didn't have a school bus.
Okay.
Is that somebody at the door?
That's probably Diane's coming in.
Oh, okay. Okay. But anyway, we're back there singing on the bus, and the bus driver, this is like on a Tuesday, because my friend was murdered on that Wednesday. And that Tuesday, the bus driver told all the white people on the front of the bus, so you know what? Niggas like that needs to be killed. I was sitting next to a white girl that went to Polytechnic High School, and Polytechnic at that time did have some black people over there at that school. So
they were integrated too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the bus driver kept looking in the mirror, and we were talking and having fun. And
okay, now were you like sitting next to her?
Yeah.
Well, okay.
He didn't like that.
Okay.
Oh, he did not like that. And I felt kind of proud. I hadn't been around white folks, you know what I mean, growing up. We'd be around brothers and sisters, you know what I mean, not white folks. Because they didn't come around us, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And so while we were back there singing and stuff, he made that statement that niggas like me need to be killed. And then when we get to my section of town, he made the statement, this area here that we're in, it used to be lily white. Now it's polka dot. I took offense. I didn't see nobody else taking offense. I took offense. I'm proud of being black. You know what I mean? And when he made that statement, it messed me up. And I had to ask him the question, why would you say niggas like me need to be killed?
Okay, for the sake of YouTube and all that, we're going to say ninjas.
Okay.
or the N-word.
Oh,
or
Lord
something.
have mercy. That's so embarrassing. Let me tell you why.
But because your video, I mean, we want people to hear the story.
Right.
And so that word
might turn somebody off.
It's not a friendly word, and so we need to say let's just say ninjas or The N word.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. And when we got to our neighborhood, uh, remember we had already argued the day before. So this bus driver pulled up on Peyton Quayle, and I just went up there and I asked him. I said, "Why would you say ninjas like me
You're doing good. You're doing good.
needs to be killed?" And he wanted to assist me off the bus, and I got on it. I struck him. I felt so good at that time. It felt like that I was standing up for my people. I never felt that good before. After I had beat the man up, I beat the man up. And the man was laid out.
Was there witnesses and all that?
Yeah. It had a lot of people on the bus. But didn't nobody participate. It was just he and I fighting. And as he laid on the floor, I stepped over him and went out the door. And I started walking south. And the next thing that I knew, he was shooting at me. And he was shooting at me because I beat him up. And then my friend that was standing on the corner by the tree, Don Tatum, Don said, "Randolph, that's a blank." So I was going to turn around because I started zigzagging and dove off in some rose bushes to get away from the gunshots.
Mm-hmm.
And when he said, "Randolph, that's a blank," I turned around. I was going to go back up there and finish beating him up, okay? But when Dunn said that, the bus driver said, "Pow!" and the bullet hit the tree. "No, it ain't, Randolph. It's real. It's real." So I turned back around real quick. And at that time, he had shot at me. The bullet hit the tree where Don Tatum is. Then he turned 180 degrees and he shot Skinny in the back of the head. And then he got on the bus and he was driving straight with his head just straight ahead. And I took off my football jacket and I picked my friend's head up and put it up on my football jacket as a makeshift pillow. And his brains was running out of his head. I had never seen anything like that before. And as he laid in my arms, he died in my arms. Of course, they said he died a day later. He was dead then. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He was actually dead. And I walked home. I had never felt that bad. And when I went through the door of my house, it was blasting all over the television and radios about the white bus driver killing a Dunbar student. And my mother looked at me when I came through the door, and I don't know how she did that. She said, "Rand, you had something to do with that." And I said, "Yes, ma'am." And I told her what had happened on the bus. We were just having fun. And my dad was a volunteer sheriff, and he had a friend that worked, Charlie Wright, worked for the DA office. And he was an investigator for the DA office. Mm. And he told my dad, "Let's take him to WBAP TV, Channel 5 News. It used to be called the Texas News, WBAP TV. And they took me to that television station. Jack Brown was the reporter. He was the one that was interviewing me at WBAP TV. And I told him exactly what had transpired that whole evening, you know, and what led to us fighting. And then I had explained to them that he had shot at me, and then he had shot at Don Tatum, and then the final shot, he shot Skinny in the head. So anyway, the bus driver told the police department and the newspapers that the guy he shot was the one that jumped on him. It didn't nobody touch that bus driver but me. We was fighting.
Mm-hmm.
But when he saw he couldn't shoot one ninja, he shot another.
Mm.
And so when that happened, my mind was like, I had lost my mind. All I know is that my friend is dead. And the way the newspapers had it, and the way the community was receiving that information, they blamed me for my friend's death. I didn't have no pistol. All I did was whoop the man for talking about us being black and stuff. So they no-billed him. The bus driver was no-billed, justifiable homicide. But it's impossible to look at a crime, especially one of murder, and then deem it justifiable. Murder cannot ever be justified, not murder, which is what happened to my friend. He was just murdered because the man wanted to kill me, but he just shot the nearest one to him.
And it sounded like you said back of his head.
Yeah.
So Skinny wasn't even paying attention. He wasn't even.
He was waiting for the bus to leave. But when the shooting started, of course, when shooting, people gonna be looking and what happened and all this kind of stuff.
But he wasn't even looking at the guy.
No, he had his arms around Charlotte Carey. And
wow.
That's his girlfriend. He had his arm around Charlotte Carey, and the bus is heading south. So he just wanted the bus to move so he could walk her across the street. Okay, and he didn't complete that task because he was shot in the head. And so
that's awful.
I was barred away. They didn't want me at Dunbar anymore. So Principal Jack A., he told me he didn't ever want me on that campus. And as far as your diploma go, we'll mail it to you. So I'm still in school. So
you're saying then the community did not get an uproar about the bus driver?
They was more in an uproar about me. Like it's my fault. I didn't have no weapon. You know what I mean? I was.
Yeah, you were a child. You were a child.
I was a child. You know, I didn't know anything about consequences and things of that nature. All I know is football and track, and I'm getting these scholarship recommendations. And that's what all I wanted to do. I wanted to be the best receiver that ever lived because I didn't miss no balls. And at the same time, I enjoyed being popular because my football squad, they never had to pay for their food because of me.
So you was great at football. So what happened after that incident? Did you lose your scholarships?
Yeah. They had a meeting at the Fort Worth ISD on University Drive, and they voided all my letters of recommendation and said that I wasn't a good fit to represent the great city of Fort Worth, Texas. And they voided all my letters of recommendation. Okay? So I was upset about that. And at the same time, I knew about prejudice. I've been seeing it all my life, but we weave it into our lives so that we'll know how to function in that.
We try to normalize it.
Yeah.
And it's not something to be normalized.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So anyway, when he was no-billed by the grand jury for justifiable homicide.
Let's go back to that day. So when you was your friend, so did the ambulance come? Like what What happened?
Yeah,
Like
the ambulance came. Of course, somebody called
the ambulance.
the ambulance,
Okay,
and
and
the
then
ambulance arrived.
was any officers around?
No,
No police officers
no,
came.
no.
That's
I
interesting.
never even talked to police about the incident, and that was. And I'm looking at this thing and trying to figure it
So
out.
someone was shot and there was no police came or nothing.
Just the ambulance came. But I'm sure I went on and walked home. But I'm sure afterwards the police came and asked questions to other people, but nobody asked me nothing.
Interesting.
Nobody asked me nothing. No police. I didn't give no report to the police.
But
My
you did-
report was given to the WBAP TV and it went nationwide.
No, that's good. At least you got your story out,
Yeah,
the true story out,
yes,
not adulterated.
yes. And at the same time as the story was going nationwide, a piece came on the TV where they were showing boxes of hate mail being sent to Fort Worth. And they showing the boxes of all the hate mail from all over the United States. Okay. And
Okay, why was boxes of hate mail sent to Fort Worth?
because of the killing of the white bus driver killing a teenage student.
But that just happened, though, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so for it to get
The boxes didn't come the same day.
oh,
But,
okay.
because it was all in the newspapers, on TV, and all.
Oh, you
that.
talking about after
Because it went nationwide.
Okay, so they started getting hate mail.
Getting
Okay.
hate mail because of the time.
Right.
This is when the civil rights movement was at its
So
peak.
was there ever a group in Fort Worth that took on the
That as advocates for the death of
skinny?
People got to understand that here in Fort Worth, Texas, when the city council, the DA, they were saying, we never have problems out of our Negroes. They used to call us Negroes. That's short for Negro, I guess. But anyway, you know what it is. But anyway.
That's interesting.
Well, yeah. But
So let me ask you, have you ever gotten any, because your story is so traumatic, have you ever gotten any counseling? Did they offer counseling to you?
No.
No, never.
I started thinking about that way later. And I said, you know what, that was very traumatic for me. Because when my friend died in my lap, all I wanted was revenge. I say, if the Klan...
And not only did your friend die in your lap, but also you didn't get the response from the community that you expected.
Yeah.
And you lost your scholarship. So there's a lot of trauma there. So you never...
And Stop 6 was against me. And I was born and bred in Stop 6. Everybody knew me. You know what I mean?
So it's kind of surprising that I didn't...
I was thinking that I was going to see some kind of camaraderie, and get some kind of sympathy, because I had sympathy for his parents. And
how did his parents respond to you? Did they blame you too?
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how did he blame the child? I'm just trying to figure out how that happened. Because they're saying you didn't. Well, you should have.
I should not have said anything.
You shouldn't have said anything. You should have just left it alone.
Left it alone. Be called whatever I'm gonna be called. Get off the bus. Forget about it, and just go on about my business. But life ain't like that.
Yeah.
In life, some people can feel animosity, hatred, prejudice, bigotry. I did, and I always responded to it.
Mm-hmm.
It made me respond.
Right. So they were probably upset that you didn't follow the protocol and just.
Right.
Okay. Because I'm just trying to figure out how do you blame a child for an adult action?
Yeah. Especially when I didn't have a gun, and it's against the law then, and it's against the law now to have a weapon of that nature on a public conveyance.
On a public school bus?
On a public bus. Not a school bus, it's a city bus.
Okay.
Because the bus driver was a city bus driver. Okay.
Okay, so now they don't have guns, right?
I don't know what they got now.
Oh,
With all the gun laws and stuff all over the United States, maybe you are allowed to have a weapon or gun on a bus. But then it was in the law books that it was against the law to possess it.
oh, so why did he have?
Because he and I had an argument the day before. Now
Oh,
watch
okay.
this, watch this. He and I had that argument the day before. This is the day of my friend being murdered. This was the next day. So why didn't the bus driver inform Fort Worth that he had a confrontation with me on the bus and see what can be done? Who gave him permission to bring a gun
Mm-hmm.
on the bus? And if he had a gun on the bus, somebody had to give him permission to have a gun to protect himself. And that thing there concerning the gun, uh, it was the bullets. He shot 3 times. Nobody said anything about that, about how many times he had fired his weapon. And uh, the DA wanted to charge him with murder,
Mm-hmm.
but the city, the city council, and everybody was angry. And I got evidence, I got proof, I got articles where they were not wanting to convict the man. This was like during, when it's election time and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they, my friend's mother sued the city of Fort Worth for $600,000, and this was in the 60s, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, $600,000, and doing then, black folks wasn't suing the cities and stuff like that and getting that kind of money in. Today, that would be almost $2 million, for the wrongful death of her son. And
Well, that was a revolutionary act.
yes, yeah,
Did she get anything?
no,
Mm.
no, she didn't. And I got a video of the news release, and she was being interviewed by reporters and things, and she had went before the federal court 3 times for civil action, for a civil lawsuit against Fort Worth, Texas, and the gentleman's name was Olin Dyson, who killed my friend.
Mm.
And they did not want to see him convicted because that same year, there was no black bus drivers anywhere. They didn't hire black.
And I'm trying to get my mind around the Montgomery boycott movement and all that. Was that going on then?
Yeah, but it was going on in another state.
Okay.
It wasn't going on in Texas. Texas was the last state in the Union that surrendered having blacks to be free.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So anyway, it was traumatic, and I turned into a monster, and all I wanted was, if white people can kill black people, then why couldn't black people kill white people? That was my mindset at the time. So I became one that all I was looking for. I don't care if you had a uniform on, Mr. Police. I'm gonna do something to you. I'm gonna do something to you. And
you became a threat.
of course.
Mm.
And anytime something would happen in Fort Worth where women was getting raped and mutilated by white boys at a certain at this
What?
Sycamore Park in Polly. They would
Really?
go. They took this sister down off into a car park, and they raped and mutilated her. So her family came to me because I was kind of known to do whatever is necessary for my people. I wasn't about the talking. I was about taking care of the business, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I did some terrible things. You know what I mean? Against police and against uh, white America.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah, I know. I didn't. It is what it is. But at that time, I was a boy, and all I wanted was revenge. My friend died in my
Nothing
lap.
about awful about the girl. That story.
Oh, well, I took care of some business. You know, I had a hit squad. That's what I was known for.
We won't go into that. We won't go
Hey,
into that.
okay,
Okay.
I had a hit squad.
Oh my gosh! So
And
that's awful. That wasn't like a serial thing though. That was that happening like frequently? Oh my gosh.
yeah, yeah, and uh, everybody would be looking for me, and then they called me H. Rap Brown. That was my name then.
Oh,
You know?
you was Fort Worth H. Brown.
Yeah, and the district attorney deemed that name to me, the district attorney.
Interesting.
You know, so everybody just knew me as H. Rap Brown. You know, the radical.
Have you ever met him?
Mm-mm,
Interesting.
mm-mm,
Okay.
mm-mm. And during
But you knew about him though, right?
oh yeah, oh yeah, but I hadn't really done any Black history study. You know, when you're living in prejudice, you ain't got time to be reading about somebody that's not there at the city where you could reach out and touch. You know, let's collaborate. You know, it wasn't nothing like that. I was doing this on my own. You know, because I felt like something had to be done, even though it was the wrong thing to do. The way in which I put this gang together, they chose me. I didn't choose them, and they loved me. The gangs. I'm looking at gangs today, and people don't understand that these youngsters that's out here in the gangs that don't have that right, correct upbringing, how they start coming to be in gangs with people that uh, they call their family. You know, since I ain't got no family, this gang is my family. I can understand that because I lived it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So anyway, I tried to rob everything, and then I got caught. I killed this. I mean, this was a good man. I could tell he was a good man. But my mind is messed up. I'm just wanting revenge. And I chose them to be the target. So this particular robbery was set up by my friend. And when I went to rob the store, because of my hatred, uh,
Anger, trauma, all that.
all of that, and I killed this man.
More trauma.
Then the woman that was working at the the real thing store. Uh, I shot her. His son was jumping up and down. You shot my daddy. You shot my daddy. Then in my mind, I'm shooting you too.
He was gone.
So he fell on top of his daddy, but he wasn't shot. He wasn't shot. He was pretending. And I thank God for that. He was pretending that he was shot. And he told the people at my tribe that he had gotten that from looking at the cowboys and the Indians. He said he just pretended that he was shot so the Indians would keep on going. So that's what I did. And
you don't have to talk about this part if you don't.
well,
you don't want to. It's totally up to you.
it's fine, you know, because people need to know, regardless of how good you are, It depends on circumstances. Anybody could have turned into me. You know what I mean?
And it's sad that racism,
It drove it.
yeah, is the engine behind a lot of madness.
Yes, yes.
You know, it's just it's just awful.
They had on the TV, they said that I was one of the most dangerous men in Texas. And I was just a boy. You hear me?
Mm.
And uh, they had my picture on the television. The whole television set had my picture on it. And it said, wanted dead or alive. I thought that stuff was just in movies. I didn't know that stuff is real. That stuff is real. So, so they, I went away. I went to California for a little bit, but I came back. My mama said, you should give yourself up because these police is going to kill you, you know. So I gave myself up because I didn't like what I did. Do you understand? I love people. You understand? And that kind of stuff wasn't me.
Right.
And
you had a conscience.
Of course I do. And I didn't receive. They tried me for the electric chair, and they was complaining about that because they were spending millions of dollars on my trial from where I had a change of venue, you know, to be moved to another city for a fair trial. And they had that trial in Wichita Falls, Texas. Wichita Falls, Texas was the northern district of the KKK.
Right.
That's where their headquarters was, Wichita Falls, Burke Burnett County. You understand? So at my trial, the jury said death. And when the jury said death, it was 12 white jurors. I didn't have no blacks or nothing like
No
that.
jury of the peers.
None of that. And 11 said death. And this old white man, he said, no, I can't touch him. There's something about the young man's eyes. I didn't get the electric chair because it was something about my eyes. You know, that ain't nothing but God. I didn't get killed from the bus driver. That ain't nothing but God. You know what I mean? And he had just had his hand on me throughout all that. And I received a life sentence. And when I went to prison, I had life. But while I was in prison, everybody, you know, I'm here to do time. Okay, whatever it is, I've accepted it. And that means that I'm going to do my time. And that means you don't put your hands on me. I don't care if you got a uniform on or not. So I got some more time because I tried. This officer, Sergeant Cobbs, Joe Cobbs, didn't want me praying. Of course, I attached myself to Islam, okay, because I wanted to change. And you couldn't go to Christians because most of them was participating in homosexuality and all that foolishness. So I attached myself to the Muslims, you know, because they had rules and regulations and respect and honor. And to say, I wanted to be a better person. So I knew I needed some guidance.
Okay.
So I hooked up with them, and Officer Cobbs, I'm out there praying. He came over, he said, stop that, stop that. I just kept on praying. Then the next thing I knew, he had grabbed me, snatched me backwards off that case that I was sitting on. Bad move. And I went and got my meat hook that I had hidden. You know, that you get the meat off the truck, take it in. And I tried to kill him because he put his hands on me. And they gave me extra time. You know what I mean? It was all in the Houston newspapers about what had happened over there. It was it was something. I mean, about 30 officers were trying to jump on me. But at that particular time, I was very proficient in the martial arts. You know what I mean? And I got hit one time in the back of my head. And the warden, he was a very brutal, sadistic warden. Name was Bear Track because his hands were made like a bear claws.
Mhm.
And they put me in the hole, and he came in the building, and he said, "Well, what is he doing in my building?" That's what he's asking all these officers. Well, Captain Mack, he's the one that attacked Officer Joe Cobb, and he hollered at them, and he said, "You suppose they killed him outside my building? Don't mess with him. Don't say nothing to him in my building." And I said, "That ain't nothing but God, because they would take you out. I have one of the inmates, to take you out. And they was doing that all the time in the penitentiary. Other brothers killing other brothers,
Mm.
for them if they didn't like it, But I was blessed. And they put me on death row. Look at that. I was being tried, but I didn't receive the death penalty. And this happened in 72. And in 1972, the gentleman that was next door to me on death row, because of my reputation,
So
they
you
housed me
you
there.
went in jail at what age?
19.
Wow. Okay.
See, 2 years I was on a crime spree. I didn't want to do nothing except hurt, hurt people. So,
Okay.
so
So how did you end up on death row if they just gave you life?
because of my reputation, death row, that's maximum security on the Ellis unit, right?
Oh, okay, you were just in that unit, but you wasn't
I wasn't
on
sentenced to
death
death.
row.
I was
Okay.
just on death row for almost a year. And that same year that they put me on death row, which was 72, October the 12th, 1972, my friend that I met that was next door to me had the death sentence. And the day that he was being taken to the death house, he stopped in front of my cell, and his name was Charlie Brooks. He was the first black person to receive the lethal injection. He was a good brother. He got the death penalty for killing a gangster white boy that was part of the organization. But he gets the death penalty for killing him when they was trying to kill him. You understand? So he stopped in front of my cell, and he took a deep breath. He said, "Well, I'll see you later." That messed me up because I knew I wasn't going to see him again. You understand? He was on his way to the death house, And that had a profound effect on me. Actually being on death row, being around other guys.
Because you were just, okay, and all this happened when you were like 20 years old?
Okay. In 1972, I just turned 22.
22. That is so young.
Yeah. And
I'm just thinking of we're gonna thank you all for tuning in. Let's speak to the audience for me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, this has been good. This has been good. Thank you all for tuning in. Just to catch you up, for those who are just joining us, we're in conversation with Mr. Shaheed, Randolph Shaheed, and he wrote this book that I want you to get. We're going to have it in the bookstore. So the question is, do Black lives still matter? That's the title of the book. Do Black lives still matter? And so he's kind of sharing his story, which is also in the book, because it's a memory of Skinny and all that happened. Basically, just his life story we're learning about. So thank you all for joining us. We appreciate that. I'm going to check and make sure we don't have any questions or nothing. But all right, wonderful. We got about like 20, 30 people watching. But so let's continue the conversation. Yeah, do Black Lives Still Matter? That's the book. If you want it, stop by the Doc Bookshop and get and pick up the book. Okay. We unfortunately didn't get a chance to get in for this conversation, but we will definitely have your book in store. But we are talking about the book and all that's in it, and it's just it's a traumatic story. I'm hearing a lot of it's sad. It's a sad story, and and let's go back to your age of 22 because I'm thinking of my nephews at this point. I got nephews that age, and I can imagine them going through what you've been through. I really can't imagine that for them. And so let's continue talking about that. So you're 22, you're on death row, you got another traumatic experience because you're actually seeing someone being led to be executed.
And God had his hand on me
the whole time.
So I'm seeing this, and I'm saying to myself, something has to change in me. Something has to change because I wasn't afraid to fight. I didn't like fighting, but it is what it is. When you locked up, you do what you got to do to survive. I went there as a man, and I wasn't going to come out as no punk. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. Now let me just give my Mr. Shaheed is an elder, so they speak straight from the heart. Okay, so some of the words and languages is just straight from the heart. Please don't take offense.
Please
don't take offense. But we know what you're saying. You wanted to maintain.
Yeah, right.
So
my manhood. That's what the whole thing maintain.
Okay. So.
Yeah, but anyway, being on death row, because of my reputation, really, and what I had done to the officer, and got that extra time out of Houston, out of Huntsville, for the way I attacked this officer. I just knew that I had to change. And in my changing, I accepted God as the final say-so. So I started asking myself all kinds of questions while I was inside. I was taking surveys. I would ask everybody that's in prison when I got off of death row, what are you going to do when you get out? That's what I was asking all the brothers, what they going to do when they get out. And all of them were saying stuff like, man, I'm going to show these youngsters out here, them young G's, to change their life so that they won't have to walk down the same pathway I walked down, going to the penitentiary and stuff. So I asked myself a question. Everybody knew me as a gangster, okay? I didn't like being a gangster for man because I already seen what I was doing as a gangster of man. I was destroying lives, you hear me? So knowing that I was destroying lives put me on a path where I had made a vow to myself. I said, I don't know if I'm going to ever get out of here. And I was incarcerated for 17 years, okay? And in being incarcerated that long, all I wanted to do was change my heart, change it so that I would be vital in life. So when they were telling me that what they gonna do, I made up my mind. I said, well, if I get out of prison and I see a situation where kids are doing this and that and it's drugs and death all in the neighborhood, I'm gonna have to change that because I'm a gangster. But I'm not a gangster for man today. I'm a gangster for God. I'm a gangster of divinity. You hear me? So a gangster of divinity has to go into the hood and then do what most gangsters don't do, and that is turn against all the
negative.
I want to be positive because that's all I want to do. But I knew that people were going to start calling me a snitch, and how you gonna call me a snitch? I ain't never snitched on nobody. You understand?
Mm.
Just because I didn't want death in the neighborhood, somebody got to step forward. I don't care if you are a gangster. Sometimes you got to go against gangsters to be a gangster for God.
Well,
Because
yeah.
if you don't, then that means that you faking. You
Okay.
just like the rest of them coming out here to do the same thing. But I had made up my mind that I was going to go beyond.
Okay, so you served your time, and now you're out. So
I've been out now 41 years.
okay,
You see?
because you got out what?
84,
So you were what, about 30,
34.
34? Okay. All right. So you got your new lease on life.
Yeah, if you can call it that. You know, because it might be new, but that leaf is very cracked. It's dry, that leaf, you know, because it can be crumbled. It can, you know what I mean? Like nothing, instantly.
But did you do what you said you were going to do when you got out?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I did that. And I'm looking at the way society is. Don't nobody want to talk to an ex-offender. Don't nobody want to know the answer to how to solve a problem. We were created to solve problems. That means that you can't be afraid to make a sacrifice. And the sacrifice that you make has to be about saving lives. I ain't out here to do nothing except save lives. You hear me? But don't nobody want to talk to an ex-offender, and they sure don't want to talk to me. They act like they scared. And I don't understand that. I'm a preacher. I love the Lord. I know that word. I don't play with it. You know, I don't do what all churches do. You know, I follow that word to the letter. You hear me? And I don't see the churches. They won't even talk to me. The preacher.
So you're not a member of a church?
Not really, because wherever I go, I want to go and help. I want to use what it is that I have to help turn around some lives. But if you don't never allow a brother to speak to your men, they wouldn't let me speak to the men out here.
Well, there's a lot of churches who have prison ministries and.
Do you know what a prison ministry is?
Well, yeah.
What do you think a prison ministry is?
Prison ministry are members of the church who go to the prison, and they talk and encourage, and they're not doing that.
Prison ministry to most preachers means that you have an ex-offender at your church, but they ain't doing nothing.
No, okay, no.
Come on
No,
now.
I make the difference on that because no, even because at my church,
Okay.
I can only speak for my church.
Okay.
But we do have a very strong, vital prison ministry, and I'm sure a lot of churches do, where they, where people, not just, of course, you have people who have history, who are ex-offenders, a part of the ministry, but then you have others who are not. But regardless, they go into the jails, the prisons, and try to
they have
bring hope.
They have them to do that. But I'm just talking about overall.
Yeah, but do you see yourself doing that with the church or something like that?
I tried as best I could, but I've asked many preachers, could I speak to your men? Could I speak to the youth that have gone wayward? Well, I got to talk to the board and see. My God, it's some things you ain't got to talk to nobody else about. Just do it because God put it in your heart to do it. And it's about doing right, And I'm looking at the way Fort Worth is. Oh, my God. I have to expose my friend's death because when that man murdered my friend and they no building and they didn't give my friend's mother a dime, I have all the evidence, newspaper clippings from then that can prove that my friend's death was a murder. I got all the evidence to prove that. Don't nobody want to listen to it. Don't nobody want to talk about it. Well, this young man was a boy and he was murdered and his life was snatched just for being black. Just for being black. So I have to do something. I've been living with this all my life for over 50 years, the death of my friend, and don't do nothing. I've got to do something. I've got to expose the wrong in Fort Worth politics. Okay, and that's why I got all these newspaper articles, because somebody got to pay for the death of my friend. It can't just go with there's no payment for the wrong that you perpetrated on the life of my friend.
Okay, but so the bus driver, is he still alive?
No, cancer ate him up.
Okay.
Praise God.
So Donna, is that where the art came in?
Hmm.
Where did the art come in?
Okay, let's talk about your art. Is your art like therapy for you? And
Yeah, yeah, and pool and shooting pool. Those two things I do for
I'm
therapy.
going to pull some of this artwork here so we can discuss. Because, and Brother Randolph have been bringing, he got several pieces in the store. And just so you know, we're having an art show as well for Kwanzaa. So stay tuned for that, family. But let's start with this one. So not only are you a writer, author,
Yeah.
but you're also an artist, and this is kind of what he does for therapy. This looks very nighttime. So let's talk about art. Okay. So
Okay.
explain that piece.
This piece is only saying that at night you can see all kinds of colors if you put the colors in there yourself and be creative. Okay. And knowing that it's nighttime, that light, the moon that you see, the moon is a reflection of the sun. In other words, if you're at night and you're walking, you try to be careful in how you step. You know, that means take your time, look at your path, and rely on the wisdom that God has given you to survive at night. So this is just something out of my head. And And I'm wanting to use my artwork as a form of employment because I don't have a job. I'm 75. I got diabetes. I got neuropathy, in my feet and leg. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And all I want to do is be able to tell a story. And the story I want to tell, I hope that it reflects the injustice that's being perpetrated on Black people. And anybody with any sense should be able to tell the injustice. Why is it that we haven't received any form of reparation? I mean, I'm fighting against all this stuff, but don't nobody want to hold a conversation about that.
Well, I will say this. There's conversations definitely being had on.
Well, I sure wish I could talk to them.
Yeah, it's an ongoing one. It's been going on for quite some time. So I don't want you to think that you're alone in the fight, because you're not. There's a lot of people still in the struggle for justice and liberation. So
You put that piece of art down on you.
so this one is these are his night. So basically, I guess you're saying, Mr. Shaheed, that there's wisdom in the night.
Yeah, you see that?
I see the light.
Do you see that person right there?
Oh, there's a person there is that a baby or something?
That's not a baby, that's a lamb.
That's a lamb. Oh, my bad. Okay.
See, that's
I seen eyes.
See, that's a lamb. And it's showing the wisdom of God in that our perspective in life is to take care of the innocent. And he's out here by himself.
At night. And
at night.
Protecting
now, you see that moon?
Mm-hmm.
That ain't water. That's the ground. I just wanted to see a reflection of the moon on the ground. Okay?
Oh, okay.
It ain't no water down there.
Okay. Okay. And it's interesting how.
Uh-huh. And this one,
So you don't do a lot of sunlight, huh? I'm just.
for some reason, I like doing night stuff.
I see. Both of
Now,
them.
if you look at this painting,
Oh no, this is a little lighter.
Yeah.
This is a little
Yeah.
lighter.
yeah,
Okay, this is dealing with a man and a baby.
see that baby? If you look at the baby very close, you'll see the baby is deformed. His feet aren't done. His hands,
Yeah.
his head. In other words, the brother is representing being the leader of the family.
Okay, I want that.
But being the leader of the family, what you got to lead is make a way for your child.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
you all bronze and you have strength, you're poised and manly, and you got a spirit to protect, but you haven't raised your son. You haven't developed him. He's undeveloped. Concentrate on developing the child and not be afraid to raise a child. Not just go along with what everybody else is doing in raising their child.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be unique in raising your child. You have to make sure that you are doing your job in the community.
Okay.
And a man, a grown man, it shouldn't be no killing in your community. Where are the men? I mean, how can I'm trying to figure this out? I don't have no children, but I'm trying to figure this out. How can you have a child and he's involved? Well, get him uninvolved. You get involved with what he's doing. You present yourself wherever he is, and then know his friends. You know, you got to integrate you into them because that's your child. How come you letting your child be in gangs, and why you letting your child have weapons and stuff? How is that possible? And grown men are not doing nothing. I'm looking at the community. You know, everybody's talking about gang bangers. I love gang bangers, but I know the gang banger got to eventually be a man. You don't become a man just by being in gangs and doing the gang banging and stuff. You become a man when you accept the responsibility of being the one to protect your neighborhood, protect your family, showing love, extending peace instead of all this other foolishness that you are allowing kids to do. That's not making no sense to me. All that stuff about, like I write about in my book, when they say criminal justice reform, I want everybody to hear this. Criminal justice reform. Out of them three words, criminal justice reform, what's being reformed in them three words?
Criminal justice? No.
Why? It's one word in those three words.
Oh, you say justice is being reformed?
See, watch this. Criminal justice reform. They say, hey, we got to have criminal justice reform. We have to have that. And, well, if you reform justice, then what's left? What's the direct opposite of justice? Injustice. No justice. In other words, it should be criminal injustice reform. That's what should be reformed. When you reform justice, the only thing that's left is injustice. It should be criminal injustice reform because you want to reform injustice to justice.
Oh, that makes you think.
Yeah, it does, because it makes sense.
Okay.
We look at and we accept everything that is told to us, except the things that create you to be a free person. I've been out of prison 41 calendar years. It's against the law for me to protect my own house. It's against the law for me to vote. It's against the law for me to go into a state facility and I have to be addressed by Randolph Brown. I don't like Randolph Brown because I hate Randolph Brown. I killed Randolph Brown when I was in prison
Okay.
because I had to kill and destroy that got me there in prison.
Okay.
So when I left prison, I'm thinking that I can use my name. It's my legal name. I got it through the federal courts. And when I go into a state facility, they won't even call me by my name.
Interesting.
You know, they do what they want to do. The only reason why they got that like that today is because they know that the majority of people that are incarcerated, if they did have the right to vote, you can look. What's the majority of the people that are in prison? Ain't they black? Ain't they brown?
Well, I don't have the numbers on that. But anyway, so we're gonna continue this conversation because
Okay.
we're out of time.
Oh wow.
Thank you all for tuning in. This segment we're calling Community Voices, and we heard from Mr. Randolph Shaheed. Do not call him Randall Brown.
Yeah, don't call me
Randolph
Randolph.
Shaheed. And his book is Do Black Lives Still Matter? It's up at the bookshop, the Doc Bookshop, and pick it up. And you can also go to our website online, thedocbookshop.com, and order the book.
And the other book, the other book is Gangster of Divinity.
Gangster of Divinity. And when is that one coming out?
This month.
Okay, he has another book releasing, and we're gonna actually do a official book signing of that one.
Okay.
Gangster of Divinity.
Okay.
We'll put that on schedule and everything. So look forward to hearing more from Randolph Shaheed, get his books, and thank you for sharing your story. I know it was difficult story.
Yeah, it is.
You know.
You want to say so much, but you can't, because you be so full of the knowledge that one received just from living.
Mm-hmm.
Now, living on the other side of living, on that gangster side,
Mm-hmm.
that has to be dissected. That has to be trisected so that you can understand that when a child participates in gang violence and stuff, don't nobody ever, the ones that are observing all the gang violence, where's the psychiatric people that's gonna come and give them a semblance of being able to improve themselves and not be tied down with the traumatic scene of murder. All they're concentrating on is incarceration. That's it.
Yeah, we got to do better with rehabilitation and
ain't no such thing. The only way to rehabilitate is when you rehabilitate yourself.
Okay.
They don't give you the tools to rehabilitate. If you want to use your time as a tool, well, yeah, you got all this time here that should give you time enough to change. But usually they don't because of the anger and the stigma of being incarcerated.
Yeah, and that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, it is.
So we have to talk about that whole nother conversation there. All right, it's been very enlightening and
Tell everybody to check the Kwanzaa schedule.
Yeah, definitely go to our website, look at our Kwanzaa schedule. We're gonna hear more from Mr. Shaheed. Gonna bring us art for Kwanzaa, and like I said, we're gonna do a book signing on your book that's coming out. So thank you all for tuning in. We appreciate you, and I do a roll. So give me a minute. I gotta press the button. Hold on, family. All right, thank you all for tuning in. Y'all have a good night.
I appreciate